Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got a combo that I think I'm a little bit on the fence about. These slugs have shown both ends of the spectrum, some really nice results and some really just unimpressive results, and this particular shotgun and choke combo has shown promise, but it's been a little bit particular as well, trying to find a slug load that really performs well through it. So putting these two together could legitimately work out very nicely or could be a little disappointing. As for the slugs we've got today, I brought out some more of the Brenneke USA Classic Magnum slugs. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 1 1/8 ounce slug, and the back of the box says we're moving at 1510 feet per second. It also does claim up here a 1.6 inch group at 50 yards, so we're going to see how accurate that number is as well. But as far as these Classic Magnums go, we tested them through an 870 with a rifled barrel, and they did very well. Probably one of the better slugs we put through that combo. We recently tested them through an 870 with a smoothbore, and that did not really go to plan, to say the least. They were pretty disappointing. So putting them through today's combo, like I just mentioned, could go either way. But you can see what the slug looks like here on the front. It is a Brenneke style slug, but these ones have kind of a fiber little base tail piece that is actually attached to the back of the slug, compared to your more traditional Brenneke with the big plastic wad looking tail into them. So I think if this combo actually stays together as one whole unit, we might see some pretty decent results. But for the setup we're going to run them through, I brought out my Remington 870 yet again. It's got a 24 inch smoothbore barrel on it. However, we have a Carlson's rifled choke tube in here today. As for rifled chokes in general, we've seen some pretty hit or miss results. In 20 gauge, I think it's only shown us one time that it actually improved our performance. The 12 gauge version here has shown us a little bit of promise in the previous time or two that we've tested it. So I figured this might be a decent in between. We saw good performance from a fully rifled barrel and not so good performance from this same smoothbore barrel. So will that little bit of rifle choke at the end actually help us dial them in a little bit from a smoothbore shotgun? I think there's definitely the potential for that to happen, that's for sure. And for those curious, Carlson's does say these are a 1 in 35 twist rate, which doesn't seem like much, but that is the standard twist rate for your average slug gun barrel. So it will have a little bit of an effect if the slugs are big enough outer diameter to actually engage the rifling, which in these Brennekes, they definitely are. As for our test today, I don't have a ton of these slugs left, so we're going to run it the same as we usually do. That being 2 groups, the first one being 3 shots at 50 yards, and the second being 3 more shots at 100 yards, all of which will be through the chronograph as well. If we see some really weird or squirrely results, I think I might have 1 or 2 extra slugs in one of those boxes, so we might take a 4th shot if we need it, but it's not a perfect test at the end of the day, but it should at least tell us if this is a decent combo at all in the first place. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll start shooting some groups and see what we can get from these Classic Magnum Brennekes through a rifle choke. Alright, so let's look through our chronograph real quick before we look at our target. The box claims 1510, however we were not seeing that. We do have a 24 inch barrel, so there's a good chance the factory tested it through a 26, 28, somewhere in that range I would imagine. And this is exactly what we have been seeing previously when we tested these as well through this shotgun, so it's nothing out of the ordinary. But we had a high of 1480, a low of 1433, that gave us an average of 1455. So what is that, 55 feet per second below their boss claim? That's probably a couple inches worth of barrel, I would imagine, with an extreme spread of 47 and a standard deviation of 17. But at an average of 1455, here's your muzzle energy for a 1 1/8 ounce slug at that kind of number. Obviously, that is plenty good enough for whatever you would want to use these for. That's definitely going to do the job for sure. But let's swing around to our target and see if these actually did any better through our rifle choke today. All right, so here we have our target, and we definitely see some pretty interesting results here. We'll start over here on the left with our 50-yard group, that being these 3 shots here. The first 2 were looking pretty decent up here, and the last one strung a little bit low, but in comparison to what we saw over with our 100-yard group over there, this is probably pretty realistic, to be honest with you. And it also is pretty interesting to see. You can kind of tell on camera here, the actual cut pattern of the paper is the typical Brenneke shape. Mainly this top one up here, you can really see the little star crimp looking edges around it, but you can also see the tears around the actual bullet holes in the paper. You kind of see this phenomenon when you paper tune an arrow for archery as well. Not only do you get the fletchings cutting through the paper, but you also get the spin of the arrow as well that you can see. And I think that's probably kind of what we're seeing here as well, because we don't usually see those tiny little marks all around like a sun. So that's pretty interesting to see, and I do think that probably tells us that we are actually engaging the rifling and making these slugs spin a little bit. And that would also make sense because I think these results are pretty much right down the middle between what we saw with a standard smoothbore and a fully rifled barrel. All right, so I apologize for the blinking. It's really cold and my calipers don't really like that, but our 50-yard group gave us 3.11 inches worth of spread. Definitely nothing over the top impressive there, but it is absolutely a minute of deer for sure. Now we'll move over here to the right with our 100-yard target. Very first shot we took was this guy way over here on the right, and for reference, the barrel did obviously have to cool while I moved the target and reset the cameras up and stuff like that, so maybe a little bit of a cold bore shot down here. I felt good about all my trigger pulls, and absolutely everything is perfectly fine with that shotgun. But then we moved it over here and hit that guy and that guy. So after seeing these two, after getting that first one, I decided, well, I've got one more of those slugs in the box. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt if that was a cold bore shot down here and take a 4th, and we hit up here on the edge as well. So whether or not we kept the original here or these 3 here, it's pretty much the same from center to edge of the paper either direction. So this is just kind of what we're getting. If I had more of these shells, I bet we could take more shots and put them somewhere right in this general vicinity here for a group. But the farthest 2 points across, that being our first shot, is 5.97 inches, and we had 4.96 between these 3 right here in a row. So somewhere between 5 and 6 inches on average, if you want to call it 5.5, just to say an average number, comparative to what we saw with our 50-yard group. It's close. Maybe our 50-yard group could have been a touch better, but overall, like I mentioned a second ago, I think this is somewhere right in the middle between the smoothbore and the rifled barrel for performance. With the smoothbore, we had pretty erratic results all over the place. With the rifled barrel, we were holding a very nice, I think it was right at 3 inches or maybe just a hair better at 100 yards. So this is somewhere right in the middle, I would say. So it seems like, at least from my testing so far, these classic Magnums definitely prefer to have a little bit of rifling to them. You can make do with a smoothbore, and maybe some shotguns will shoot them better than others, but if you got a rifled barrel, then these are probably going to be a pretty decent performer. Now yes, this is obviously minute of deer out to 100 yards all day long. I mean, there's my handprint for a reference. I can pretty much cover everything up, so it would certainly do the job, but I prefer to see it a little bit tighter of a group at 100 yards. Personally, I like 3 inches or so from a slug gun or better, but I would say this did about middle of the road average, because it could have been pretty good, it could have been pretty bad, and these results are just okay. They're not horrible, but they're nothing to write home about either. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? Once again, the rifle choke in 12 gauge has shown us some promising improvement over just the standard smoothbore with these slugs as well. Is it anything over the top special with these? So far, no, it isn't, but we did see improvement over just running those through an improved cylinder from that 870. So it did something to help us out, that's for sure. But it just seems like these classic Magnums really like to have a good amount of rifling to help them out some. I mean, my rifled 870 barrel is only 18.5 inches, and if we were getting 3-inch or better groups out of that barrel, being that kind of length, then I'm really curious what these would do through something like a Savage 212. That could be a pretty lethal combination, that's for sure. So maybe I'll have to get one of those shotguns eventually, and we'll have to try them and see what happens. But either way, based on my testing, rifled barrel is probably the way to go with these, if you really want to dial them in anyway. Otherwise, They're minute of deer, but they're nothing over the top impressive. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Brenneke Classic Magnums? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is this a combo you would ever use on a deer hunt if you're getting those kind of accuracy results? Or would you prefer to see them a little bit tighter grouping? And maybe what other slugs do you want to see me run through that 870 with the rifle choke? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.